The world did not freeze overnight. For thousands of years, the cold crept in, season after season, century after century, until walls of ice swallowed entire continents and forests turned to frozen plains stretching beyond the horizon. In that frozen wasteland, where every breath hung in the air like smoke, one predator rose above all the rest. Fangs longer than a human hand, a body built like a battering ram, a silence so complete that prey rarely heard death coming until it was too late. This was not an ordinary cat. This was Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat, apex killer of the Ice Age. But strength alone has never guaranteed survival. In a world of crushing cold, vanishing prey, and merciless rivals, even kings can fall. So how did this legendary hunter not just endure, but rule? Today, we step into the frozen heart of the Pleistocene, into the world of the most iconic predator to ever walk the ice. Built for power, not speed. Picture a lion. Now forget everything you know about it. Because the saber-toothed cat was nothing like the sleek, long-legged hunters of today. It was shorter, heavier, built low to the ground, with a chest like a furnace and forelimbs so thick and dense with muscle they could rival a grizzly bear's. This was not an animal made to run. This was a living battering ram, a creature engineered, bone by bone, for one single purpose: to overpower prey in brutal close-quarters combat. Its shoulders were built for grappling, strong enough to wrestle animals many times its own weight to the ground. Its paws were broad and powerful, designed for pinning, clamping down on struggling flesh and refusing to let go. And its neck carried muscle dense enough to drive those enormous fangs home with surgical precision. Unlike the cheetah, built for the chase, or the wolf, built for the long pursuit, Smilodon didn't run down its prey across open ground. It waited, hidden in the brush, crouched behind boulders rimmed with frost, patient, silent, watching until the precise, perfect moment to strike. And when it finally moved, it didn't simply attack. It exploded. A sudden burst of raw power covering the final few feet in a heartbeat, before the prey even understood what was happening. This ambush strategy, quiet, patient, devastating, made Smilodon one of the most efficient killers the Ice Age ever produced. The fangs of a specialist. Now, those legendary fangs, curving down nearly 7 inches from the jaw, were not the bone-crushing weapons people often imagine. They were something far more refined, thin, razor-edged, built not for smashing through bone, but for precision, for finding the one vulnerable point on a struggling animal and ending the fight in seconds. Smilodon didn't bite the way a lion does, clamping down with brute force and grinding through resistance. It targeted soft, vulnerable tissue, the throat, the unprotected belly, the great arteries pulsing just beneath the skin. One perfectly placed strike, fast and controlled, and a mammoth calf or a giant ground sloth 20 times its size could fall in seconds. But this specialization came at a terrible price. Those fangs, for all their lethal beauty, were fragile. One bad angle, one bone struck instead of flesh, could shatter them in an instant. And a broken fang didn't just mean pain. It meant a slow, irreversible slide toward starvation. Smilodon lived its entire life balanced on a knife's edge, where one mistake could end its reign forever. A world of giants. But the Ice Age wasn't some barren, empty wasteland. It was a world of giants, and that abundance is exactly what made Smilodon's brutal lifestyle possible. Across these frozen plains roamed bison the size of trucks, their breath rolling like fog across the grass. Young mammoths, already weighing several tons, trudged beside their herds. Giant ground sloths reared up on hind legs, armed with claws that could disembowel a careless attacker. And ancient horses built for endurance grazed nervously at the edges of the herd, always watching the shadows. These animals were slow, heavy, cumbersome. In other words, perfect targets for a patient ambush predator. But here's something remarkable. Smilodon likely didn't hunt alone. Fossil evidence tells a quietly extraordinary story. Skeletons bearing old, healed injuries, broken legs, shattered ribs, wounds that should have been a death sentence in the wild. Yet these animals survived long enough for the bones to mend. That kind of survival doesn't happen alone. It suggests something almost unthinkable for a solitary predator, that Smilodon lived, hunted, and healed within social groups, not unlike the prides of lions or the packs of wolves we know today. A wounded cat, unable to hunt, would have starved within days unless others were there to share the kill. This single detail changes everything. It means Smilodon likely hunted in coordinated groups, working together to bring down prey far larger and stronger than any one of them alone. Teamwork, in a world built on raw power, made them nearly unstoppable. Surviving the ice. So, how exactly did the saber-toothed cat survive one of the harshest, most punishing eras our planet has ever known? It came down to 4 critical advantages. First, ambush power. Its short, muscular body wasn't built for chasing prey across open ground. It was built for explosive, close-range violence, perfectly suited to the snowy, uneven terrain of the Ice Age. Second, social structure. Hunting in groups dramatically increased Smilodon's odds of success while protecting injured members who otherwise wouldn't have survived. Third, prey abundance. The Ice Age overflowed with megafauna, exactly the kind of massive, slow-moving prey Smilodon had evolved over countless generations to specialize in killing. And fourth, cold adaptation. Thick, insulating fur, compact, heat-conserving limbs, dense muscle built to generate warmth as well as force. Every part of its body was tuned for survival in brutal, sub-zero conditions. For tens of thousands of years, longer than all of recorded human history combined, Smilodon thrived in this frozen world, an undisputed king of ice and shadow, but no kingdom lasts forever. The fall of a king. Even the strongest predators on Earth cannot survive when the world beneath them collapses. Around 10,000 years ago, the Ice Age that had shaped Smilodon's entire existence began to end. Temperatures crept upward, the endless glaciers began their slow retreat, and the wide, open grasslands that had sustained herds of giants for millennia began giving way to dense, unfamiliar forests. Then the megafauna began to vanish. The mammoths, the giant sloths, the great Ice Age herds that Smilodon had depended on for its entire existence, disappearing piece by piece from a changing world. And without that giant prey, every advantage that once made Smilodon unstoppable became a fatal weakness. It was too heavy, too slow for chasing the smaller, swifter animals that remained. Its magnificent fangs, perfect for ambushing giants, were far too fragile for a world of quicker prey. Its entire hunting strategy, refined for one specific kind of world, simply no longer matched the world it now faced. As the ecosystem shifted beneath its feet, Smilodon could not adapt fast enough to keep pace. And so, the saber-toothed cat, one of the greatest predators this planet has ever produced, quietly vanished from existence. The saber-toothed cat was never just a killer. It was a masterpiece of Ice Age evolution, a creature shaped, muscle by muscle, fang by fang, for a world of giants. A world that, in the end, disappeared and took Smilodon with it into legend. If you want more journeys into the ancient past, subscribe to Ancient Earth Archives, because here, the Ice Age never truly ends. And tell us in the comments, if you could witness one moment from the Ice Age, which creature would you want to see in the wild?